This episode is brought to you by IXL. It is full on summer here, and I am trying desperately to keep my 7 kids working on their academics just a little bit. It's summer, but the best part is we are using IXL, and my kids think it is a game. IXL has reading, writing, math, science, and much, much more pre-K through 12th grade. So as you know, the children in this household are, let's see if I can do it. They're going to kindergarten, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade. So it covers all of our kids. I'm not trying to make this summer super intense with heavy academics, but I want them to chip away. The best part about IXL is it adapts to your child's level. So they're always working at the right pace. Kids get instant feedback and clear expectations, and you as a parent can easily track their progress. The best part is they think that it's a game. Make an impact on your child's learning and get IXL now. The Behavior Blueprint listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/behavior. Visit IXL.com/behavior to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. Welcome back to the Behavior Blueprint. I have 2 very special guests today. Lola and Parker are joining me. We are going to finish out our emotional regulation month of July with a couple of stories and a couple of talks about replacement behavior. And then I'm also going to touch on the girls about it's our midsummer check. How are all of the things I put in place in June actually holding up?
It is holding up great, I think.
Okay. Hi, I'm Mandy Grass, the family behaviorist, and these are 3 of my favorite little humans.
Hi, I'm on this podcast. Let's do this.
Let's do this. This is the Behavior Blueprint where we can figure out why kids do what they do.
Is that why parents yell sometimes?
Sometimes, because parenthood is messy, behavior is complex, but with the right blueprint, we can figure it out together.
Yeah!
Let's first start about I asked Lola to join me because yesterday I had to run to the store and Jerry was out in the yard and I was like, okay, Lola, like you guys can watch a little bit more TV and then I'd like you to eat some breakfast because we're getting ready to go to the beach.
I didn't hear you exactly.
Okay. So anybody want to guess what happened when I got home? Everybody was still in front of the TV. And I was like, guys, I asked you to eat breakfast. We got to go. We're running late now.
I didn't get a breakfast up.
And Lola was like, yeah, I'll take Nutella toast now. And I was like, oh, Nutella toast is no longer an option. We are out of time. You can have yogurt. So Lola went upstairs to get dressed for the beach, I think. And then she came back down. And what did you say to me?
Mom, when you yell at me like that, it makes me sometimes feel like I'm dumb.
Mm-hmm. Now, the reason I wanted to highlight this is a couple of things. You know, the entire point of this emotional regulation, working on these skills, is not necessarily to be a completely calm adult all the time. I wouldn't say I screamed and yelled, but I did come home and be like, dude, why are you still watching TV? You're supposed to be.
You were if this was the highest you could go, you were right.
So if level 10 was screaming, I was like a 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was annoyed for sure. So the point of emotional regulation isn't necessarily to be a completely regulated adult all the time, mostly because I think that's unrealistic. Obviously, we all want to work on being calm when we're frustrated and all those things. But the other part of that is how do you create an environment where your kids can come to you? I don't think I would have ever told Grampy, hi, Grampy, you're making me feel stupid. Do you think so?
No.
Maybe in an angsty teenager way. Do you think I'm dumb? But I don't think I would have ever been able to go to him. So while I recognize my numerous flaws and my numerous triggers, I do think the fact that you at 10 years old are able to tell me when I've crossed the line for you or the way that I made you feel, those are the steps in the right direction. Right?
Yeah.
How do you feel? What do you think you're learning about your own emotional regulation?
That I'm experiencing more and more emotions. And sometimes I'm calling Mom for my tin can. I'm like, Mom, I have this weird feeling again. What is it?
I also do want to touch on one other thing, if you're comfortable going here, is the therapy. So Lola and Parker have been in therapy since November. So 8 or 9 months? And Lola was like, hi, could you please get me a therapist? Which I love. I think that that's amazing. And, as I mentioned, they both want therapy, so they're very willing participants. But I think therapy has been phenomenal for you in terms of your personal growth, your emotional regulation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's helped me because at the beginning I wouldn't say my feelings. I'd be like he'd ask me, "How are you feeling?" I'd be like, "Yeah, it's okay," and now I'd actually open up, and I really like that.
Right, because you are an eldest daughter people pleaser through and through. As I mentioned this the other day in the car, and one of Jerry's sons was like, who's also a people pleaser, was like, "Why is people pleasing bad?" And that was a great conversation about it is not bad to necessarily please people. But do you remember what I said is when is it bad being a people pleaser?
When you start caring about other people's feelings more than you care about yours.
Good job. Yes, exactly. Like when you start bending or compromising because, and not that bending and compromising is bad, but when you start being like, I'm just going to do this to keep the peace and your actual feelings aren't there, that's when it becomes problematic. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to go too specific, but I do want to talk about you are across 2 households. And do you think you could have said to other adults in your life, hey, you're making me feel dumb?
It would be really hard to, but I think if for a little bit more time, I might be able to.
Okay. So I also think, though, the point that I'm making here, too, is twofold. One, I want that skill to develop for you. But 2, something you have said to me is you will tell me when I'm upsetting you or when I make you feel dumb. And why will you tell me?
Because I don't want you to keep doing it.
And you know that I will what?
Stop.
Yeah, I will try to change, right? And so I think a big part of your relationship with your children and, attempting to repair and show emotional regulation and all of that is creating an environment where they can speak to you candidly and that you make those efforts. Again, I think a lot about how our parents raised us and I had a wonderful childhood. Please go listen to my episode with my sister if you want to hear more about my childhood. But I don't know that was a focus growing up about making sure our kids come to us at any point. And don't get me wrong, I would absolutely come to my parents, but I don't know that I would have said, hey, you're making me feel this way. And the irony is I felt stupid my entire childhood. Not because of the way my parents spoke to me, but because of dyslexia. So anyway, I feel very good about that, and I appreciate your willingness to do that. And I think the takeaway here is to create those opportunities where your kids can come to you. One other thing I thought about, because I was talking to somebody who was talking to their kids, their teenagers, and they're often monosyllabic responses. Like, it's good, it's fine, yep. When I talk to the girls about bigger things, like how do you feel about the move? How do you feel about blending families? What do I usually say? Do I say, just tell me? Or how do I guide that conversation?
You're like, so how have you been? Or how have you, kind of, I don't know.
Okay, so the thing I'm talking about is I always say, tell me, what do I say? Tell me.
Tell me what you like.
Okay, so all right, never mind. I usually say, tell me 2 really good things
that's what I meant.
And 1 not so great thing. And the reason is... again, the people-pleasing tendency, but to give them a space where they feel comfortable saying the not-so-great thing. I think if I were to say, hey, how's it going? You would probably say, good. And the conversation might end there. And it's really fun to get 2 really good things and 1 not-so-great thing.
But sometimes there is no not so good thing or just one good thing.
I love that. We did that even our family with summer vacation, the schedules are all off. And so we all got back together, the 9 of us, and we went around the table and said, tell us 2 really good things about, your weekend away and 1 not so great. Okay. Let's switch gears quickly. Lola, we are halfway through summer, right? We just have a few weeks left. Yep. I'm entering 5th grade. So the beginning of summer, I did a podcast episode where I talked about our chores. I talked about our chore chart. I talked about the contract that we have about going outside for 30 minutes and cleaning spaces. How do you feel all of that is going?
I think it's going pretty great. But I feel like sometimes people might ditch it. Like Jerry, at one time I was talking to Aiden. He's like, we have a chore list. I've only done that once. And I was there. I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, oh, I must be they never told me. And Aiden's like, they just told me, Aiden, go do 3 chores.
Yeah, so that did come up. But here's the thing. And here I think is why Jerry doesn't realize. He picks big chores. So he picks things like mowing the lawn versus... other people in our house pick the quickest chores humanly possible to be done in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And so the kids,
those people.
So, yeah, and that's okay. I have zero problem with that. If you want to be the first one up, you want to feed the dogs, you want to get their water, and you want to like vacuum the kitchen and be done, love that. I will say the only time it really comes down to us implementing it. So, for example, the other day, one of the kids was on their PlayStation, and Jerry was like, "Did you do your chores?" And I was like, "Oof, I didn't remind them," sort of thing. So the one thing that we haven't done well that I dropped the ball on was having you each pick a meal. But I think I'm going to shift focus to having you each. All right, just ignore her, please. Okay, slide back in. It's to having you each work on helping me make a meal. You are probably the least involved in that. Parker and Marley. Marley, especially if I'm making cutlets, is all in. You're not really into that. We got to work on that so that you're. Oh, I take that back. I take that back. You know why I take that back?
Why?
Breakfast is your jam.
Yeah.
I came down yesterday. Lola was making herself a breakfast sandwich. She had toast, 2 eggs, bacon, cheese.
Someone needed help getting Eggos.
And then one of our older kids was like, "Can you get me Eggos, please?" And I was like, "Well, I just made a full breakfast sandwich. You need help with Eggos?" Okay. Final thoughts on emotional regulation in our home, emotional regulation within yourself. What are some things you're working on?
I am working on trying to not build up my anger with other people. It's mostly with Parker, but I'm trying not to immediately
Okay. What are some of your strategies?
My strategies? I think my strategies might be walking away, taking a break, maybe have a little thing in my fidget in my hand or something, and I think those might help me.
Yeah.
Maybe going outside and getting some air. I don't know.
You are working on it. Aunt Tiff and I were talking yesterday about how parents get so frustrated with their children and they don't get frustrated with anybody else in life like that. And you're reminding me of that right now. I think siblings get incredibly frustrated with their siblings. I don't think there's anyone else in the world that I would see you get as mad at as you do, Parker.
She just...
You also share a room. You guys are attached at the hip. Okay. Any final thoughts for our listeners about either the way that our home feels in terms of emotional regulation or things that you like that we do or don't do? 2 positives and 1 thing that we could work on. How about we do that? Let's end it that way. Tell me 2 really good things about emotional regulation in our home, either adults or children, and 1 thing that you think we could continue to work on.
The good things, I think, are the 3 chores everybody has to go in to make our house all clean and our yard's all clean. 1 bad thing, I think it might actually be how we don't all everybody me and Parker don't get that much. Well, we get along, but we argue.
Right.
Lenny and Parker argue. It's just not smooth rolling all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we put some things into place, it might not be.
Yeah.
But it might be
Lola's using her hands for all of you listening. That sometimes the getting along of the young kids can be up and down, and how do we make it smoother? But I do also want to say that I think that that's pretty normal, right? When you share a space with people, and especially 1 thing that's noticeable is that the younger kids struggle with it a little bit more. And I think that's part of developing.
Why am I counting as a younger kid? I'm the middleest.
10 and younger, I would say, because you're developing those skills, right? You're developing the skills of how to handle conflict and how to handle your own emotion. And so definitely there's still work to be done. All right. Thank you so much, Lola. We'll talk to you later. All right. Go get your sister.
Bye. Good Parker.
Thank you. Go get your sister. Hello, Parker.
Hello.
Okay. All right. So I was telling Lola that the month of July, we have been talking about emotional regulation in children and adults alike. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was your progression with talking to adults when, you have certain feelings. So I'm going to tell a couple of stories and then I'd like you to tell the final one. Okay. So we've mentioned, we've blended families and that comes with its own complexities. We should do an episode about that one day. But Jerry is very direct. He's far more direct than I am. I am definitely the softer, more easily manipulated one. I negotiate a lot more and Jerry's very, very direct. So, for example, I don't know, back in like May or something, he'd gone outside and Parker was eating chips as I was making dinner. And he was like, Parker, what are you doing? She goes, oh, no, like I was just bringing these chips in. Anyway, she came inside and she was very upset about the way that Jerry spoke to her. Jerry, on the other hand, completely unbeknownst, had no idea she was upset. He was leaving to pick somebody up. And do you remember I told you, hey, we really need to talk to Jerry about this. And what did you say?
I don't really want to.
No, absolutely. It was a little bit more passionate than that. It was like, no, absolutely not. And you were very teary. And what did we end up doing that day? Because it was important to me that you tell Jerry how you felt. So what did we end up doing that day?
I wrote him a note.
You wrote him a note and said, hey, that really bothered me. When Jerry read the note, what did he do?
He pulled me aside and said I didn't mean to.
And apologized? Do you think Jerry is working on his tone?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So brings me to this wonderful point. I was not home. Jerry was home with Parker and Marley, and they were having a very typical sister argument. And you were trying to teach Marley, I don't know, whatever she had done. And my understanding is Jerry said something along the lines of, hey, Park, just leave it be. It's not getting anywhere. And he said a few minutes later, you marched in and said,
I don't really like the way you talk to me.
And what did he say?
I'm sorry I didn't make it feel that way.
Yeah. So what do you think I am over the moon proud about?
Me saying how I felt to Jerry.
Mm-hmm. So we just told a similar story of Lola saying to me, hey, you made me feel a certain way. Do you think that that is something you're able to do with a variety of adults in your life?
Yeah.
All adults in your life?
Not all.
Not all. So I think that what I was saying on this podcast is like our goal is not to be perfectly calm adults. It's to be able to create an environment where our kids can come to us if they feel that we have been dysregulated or mean or harsh. Right? You look teary-eyed. What's up?
I'm not teary-eyed, do I?
No? Okay. All right. So I think that is, again, that's the ultimate goal. And there are some examples of the way that our kids are really working on that. And so that's really great for me. The next thing that I wanted to do was a little bit of a midsummer check. So Park, back in June, I did the chore list. I did the contract about like playing outside. I did all of that sort of stuff. And I told everyone I would check in midsummer and talk about the things that I have held true to. Have we implemented those things, the chore chart and the like being active for 60 minutes a day and all of those sort of things?
Yes.
Yeah. I was saying there are times that like I'm not as good as implementing it. There is one thing that I think I haven't done a great job on, and that is I wanted each of you guys to make a meal a week, and we haven't done that at all. Not at all, but what we want to shift to maybe is having you help with meals. Who is my hands down best helper? It's you, for sure. Helps me like bring stuff out, helps me set up, helps me clean up. She's waitress extraordinaire, bringing people drinks, making fancy drinks, all of that good stuff, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to tell me, when we're talking about our home and talking about people being calm and emotional regulation, I want you to tell me 2 really good things that we do in our home and one not so great thing, or one thing that we as a family could work on.
Maybe, like being less harsher to each other. Like the boys are always yelling and pushing each other.
Mm-hmm. Lola said the exact same thing. And what I wanted to say about that was, and I said the same thing to Lola, like there is an element of that's age appropriate. You guys are all learning how to control your emotions. What's something you think you could work on personally?
Maybe less lying.
Parker's a little bit of a sneaker. She likes to sneak things. So we could definitely work on it. I will say, I just posted a reel the other day about an incident with a Dr. Pepper. And I will say that you have gotten much better. I would say 90% of the time you're asking. But there is that 10% sneaking. Why do you think you sneak?
Attention.
You think it's attention, or do you think it's to get access to the item? Access to the item. So one other thing that I've been talking to the girls a lot about function. And so, for example, Lola the other day, I was like, listen, like we're talking about function. She was pouting. And I go, what do you think the function is right now? And she goes, attention. And it's working. So like, what do you think the function of being sneaky is? Access. And it's working. Right? So those are all fair things. Is there anything else that you would like to comment on? Like I said, our whole month of July was emotional regulation, positives, negatives, things we need to do better. Anything else that you can think of about our home?
Not that much.
Not that much. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So that rounds out July's emotional regulation month. In terms of the parental lens on how our summer chores are going, there is some debate of like, oh, he doesn't do it and this and that. I would say it's pretty minimal. The kids are pretty good about jumping up and getting it right to the chores because they want them out of the way. A couple of people have commented being like, is there an issue with one kid always choosing an easy chore? All of the chores are easy except for mowing the lawn. And we have one kid who absolutely loves to mow the lawn. And so we have not run into that debate. If that did happen, I would probably assign like a chore rotation where each person was given a designated chore. Ultimately, it comes down to my own implementation. If I hold true to that, if I check on it, if I'm making sure that things are getting done, then they get done. And that's amazing. So as with any behavior change, it really comes down to us, our consistent responding, our clear expectations, and our follow through. And along those lines, I've told you guys before, being consistent is extremely difficult. Jerry's much better at this than I am. Like I said, no, it's no. And I'm like, well, but then they did this, and I am guilty of falling into the earn it back. I know that sometimes when I say things like this, I get a lot of comments about why would we listen to you when you don't do it right? And I think I'm just a parent trying to navigate the world and trying to, have adults, children that can come to me one day and be articulate and kind. And I want to make sure I'm not overreacting. And sometimes when we get really dysregulated, that's when we can issue consequences that perhaps aren't reasonable. I told you guys the story about the time that I told them we'd go to ice cream and then they kicked a soccer ball in Marley's face and it fell apart. And so something I try to be really mindful of is is the consequence I issued realistic? Is it reasonable? And beyond that, how can I get to a place where I'm not shooting from the hip with a consequence and I'm giving myself time to re-regulate and determine if it was completely appropriate? Listen, I absolutely reinforce behavior that I don't love on a daily basis. And I am often self-monitoring and trying to improve, where I want to be and what that looks like in life. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this series. It is almost August and we are switching gears into talking about back to routines. I know that everyone's like, no, not yet. But first of all, this podcast is across the whole country. And I have a client who starts August 12th back to school. But ultimately, something I've realized, I'm sleeping till 7:30. That will never fly during the school year. We have to be up by 5:30. So starting to put some systems in place. We're going to talk about all of that, how to establish your routines, how to get ready for the beginning of the school year, what systems to put in place, all of that good stuff. So if you want any information about the things we've talked about, if you want to join our club, which is, if you do not have a village, come be part of our club. We have Q&As in there. I am talking with people regularly about some of the issues that they're facing. We're troubleshooting. We've built a really nice community in there. So that is really great. So you can check that out at my website, thefamilybehaviorist.com. It is called The Club. But other than that, thank you so much for being here. As always, if you could rate, review. I have been getting a lot more reviews and I really appreciate that. Reading your perspectives means the world to me. Even if you disagree, I'm okay with that. So thank you so much for being here this week. And next week, back to school. If this podcast has helped you even a little bit, leaving a review is one of the biggest ways that you can help me. It helps other parents find the show, and honestly, it helps me know what's landing for you. You can do it right now while you're listening. I would really appreciate it. For information on topics like this and many more, come back to this podcast, The Behavior Blueprint Weekly, and you can always check out my content on Instagram and TikTok at The Family Behaviorist. Thanks so much.